Hey everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to see you again. If you're new here, I'm thrilled to have you join our English learning family. This channel is all about helping you speak English naturally, confidently, and fluently, just like a native speaker. Today, we're focusing on something really powerful: English connectors. You might not realize it yet, but these tiny words and phrases can completely transform the way you speak. So, what exactly are connectors? Well, they're the words we use to link ideas together. Imagine you're talking to someone in English, maybe a friend, a classmate, or even in a job interview, and you want to explain your thoughts clearly. Without connectors, your sentences might sound a bit broken or disconnected. For example, listen to this. I like traveling. I go to different countries. I meet new people. It sounds okay, right? But it's a little flat. Now, let's add some connectors. I like traveling because I love discovering new cultures. When I go to different countries, I meet amazing people, and I learn so much from them. Do you hear the difference? It sounds smoother, more natural, more alive. That's exactly what connectors do. They make your English flow beautifully. They help your listener follow your ideas easily, without confusion or awkward pauses. Think about how native speakers talk. They don't just throw out short, separate sentences, they connect their thoughts naturally. You'll often hear them use words like actually, basically, however, meanwhile, therefore, in addition, besides, on the other hand, and so many more. These small words are like the glue that holds your sentences together. Without them, your English can sound like a list. But with them, wow, it becomes a real conversation. Now, before we dive into our list of 30 essential connectors, I want you to understand something important. Speaking English naturally is not about speaking fast. It's not about using complicated words, either. It's about speaking clearly, confidently, and with flow. And the best way to do that is by connecting your ideas smoothly. Let's think of an example in real life. Imagine you're at a coffee shop with a friend, and you're talking about your weekend. You could say, I went to the beach. It was sunny. I played volleyball. I had fun. That's fine, but it sounds like you're reading from a list. Now, if you add connectors, listen to how much better it sounds. I went to the beach because the weather was sunny, and while I was there, I played volleyball with some friends. It was so much fun. See, it's more interesting, more expressive, and it flows like real speech. When you use connectors, you're not just improving grammar, you're improving communication. People will understand you better, and you'll sound more confident. You'll also be able to speak longer and keep conversations going naturally. Here's another secret. Connectors also help you buy time when you're thinking. For example, instead of staying silent while you search for your next word, you can say something like, well, actually, or, you know, on the other hand, or, that reminds me. These expressions make you sound like you're still speaking, and that gives your brain a few extra seconds to think. Clever, right? So, in today's lesson, we're going to explore 30 of the most useful English connectors that will help you speak with natural flow and fluency. We'll cover connectors for different situations: when you're adding information, contrasting ideas, showing cause and effect, giving examples, or organizing your thoughts. You'll learn how to use them naturally, with simple examples you can practice right away. But before we go deeper, I want you to imagine how confident you'll feel once you start using them. Picture yourself in a conversation. Maybe chatting with an English-speaking friend, giving a presentation at school, or attending a job interview. You'll no longer pause awkwardly or repeat the same words like, and, or, so, over and over. Instead, you'll have a wide range of beautiful connectors to express yourself clearly and naturally. Remember, fluency isn't about speed, it's about connection. Connection between your ideas, your sentences, and even between you and the person you're talking to. That's why connectors are so powerful. They help you connect thoughts, emotions, and meaning in your English. So, take a deep breath, get comfortable, and stay with me. In the next parts, we'll go step by step through real examples, short dialogues, and practical exercises. You'll learn not just to memorize connectors, but to use them naturally, in everyday English conversations. All right, are you ready to speak English with natural flow and fluency? Let's begin our journey with the first group of connectors, the ones that help you add ideas smoothly and naturally. Let's go. All right, now that you understand why connectors are so powerful, let's dive right into how to actually use them in real conversations. In this part, we'll explore some of the most common and useful connectors that help you add ideas, contrast ideas, and make your English flow naturally. Remember, the goal isn't to sound perfect, but to sound connected, smooth, and confident when you speak. Let's start with connectors for adding information. These are words you use when you want to keep your ideas going, like adding another piece to the story or giving more details. Some of the most common ones are and, also, besides, in addition, and what's more. Let's see how these work in real sentences. I enjoy reading books, and I love watching movies too. I'm studying English, and also learning a bit of Spanish. I'm a teacher. Besides, I run a small online business. I've been learning English for 2 years. In addition, I practice speaking with native speakers every week. I love Italian food. What's more, I can even cook some Italian dishes myself. Do you see how each of these sentences feels natural and connected? Without connectors, you would sound like you're stopping after every idea. But when you add them, your thoughts flow together like a conversation, not like a list. Now, when you use connectors like besides or in addition, you sound a bit more advanced and fluent. They show that you can structure your ideas naturally, just like a native speaker. Here's a quick tip. When you're speaking, don't overthink which connector to use. Just choose one that feels natural for the situation. With practice, they'll start to come automatically. Okay, let's move to the next category, connectors for contrast. These are used when you want to show a difference between two ideas. For example, I like coffee, but I prefer tea. It's raining, however, I still want to go for a walk. I enjoy city life. On the other hand, the countryside is more peaceful. Although the movie was long, it was really interesting. Each of these connectors helps you compare two thoughts and make your meaning clear. Let's break them down a bit. But is the simplest and most common. You can use it in almost any casual conversation. For example, I wanted to call you, but I was too busy. It's short and easy to use. However, sounds more formal and is often used in writing or polite conversation. The restaurant was nice. However, the service was slow. You can use it to sound more polished or professional. On the other hand, is great when you want to balance two opposite ideas. I love living in the city. On the other hand, it can be noisy and crowded. It shows that you're thinking deeply about both sides of a situation. And, although, is perfect when you want to soften a contrast. For example, although I'm tired, I'll finish my homework. It sounds smooth and natural, great for everyday English. Now, imagine you're having a conversation with a friend. Here's what it might sound like using these connectors naturally. A. Do you like living in your new apartment? B. Yes, I do. The view is amazing, and it's close to my work. However, the rent is a bit high. On the other hand, it's worth it for the convenience. See how natural that sounds. The connectors make the conversation flow. It doesn't sound forced or rehearsed. Here's a fun exercise. Try talking about your daily routine using at least 3 connectors. For example, I wake up early, and I usually go for a jog. After that, I make breakfast. However, if it's raining, I just do some stretching at home instead. That's exactly how native speakers connect their sentences, with smooth transitions, not long pauses. Another important thing to remember is intonation and rhythm. When you say these connectors out loud, don't rush them. Pause slightly before and after a connector. For example, I wanted to go out, but it started raining. That short pause helps your speech sound clear and natural. Now, let's look at how connectors can make your storytelling better. Imagine you're telling a story about your weekend. I went to a new restaurant with my friends, and the food was delicious. In addition, the staff were super friendly. However, it was quite crowded, so we had to wait for a table. On the other hand, the atmosphere was great, so we didn't really mind waiting. See, that sounds like something a native speaker would say: connected, balanced, and expressive. Before we wrap up this part, remember this golden rule. Using connectors isn't about sounding fancy, it's about sounding clear. You don't need to memorize all of them at once. Start with a few, like and, but, because, however, and in addition. Use them daily in short conversations or when practicing English aloud. Over time, your brain will naturally start connecting your ideas without you even thinking about it. That's when you know your English is becoming fluent, not just correct, but smooth and natural. Alright, that's the power of connectors for adding and contrasting ideas. In the next part, we'll go even further. We'll learn how to use connectors to organize your thoughts, tell stories smoothly, and speak English with confidence and natural rhythm. Stay with me, you're doing great.